Now, it never rains, but it pours for our embattled Chancellor Rachel Reeves because the reality of a potential recession is now intensifying as business leaders express worries about the impact of upcoming tax changes on economic growth. Bosses in the private sector said they expected a significant fall in activity over the next 3 months, with the Confederation of British Industry warning that companies are now cutting staff, moving jobs overseas and curbing investment as they battle to cut costs and offset the impact of the Chancellor Rachel Reeves' looming tax changes. Well, I'm now joined in the studio by GBNews' political editor, Chris Hope. Chris, we're going to stabilise the economy. The adults are back in charge. Everything is going to be tickety-boo. That's the promise. The reality is looking rather grim.
There's a gear change for the weekend, Martin, isn't there? You've got the Chancellor in Davos last week talking about investing in Britain, understanding the need to get the animal spirits in her language, of course, language first used by economists in the past, and the Tory party grabbing the idea of how capital investment is so important and capitalism is so important. But she recognises without growth, you can't do anything this government wants to do. They've spent a long time being gloomy about the economy. The Tories would say talking it down. Labour would say being realistic about what they say is a 22 billion pound black hole they uncovered when they came to power. So, yeah, we have got Rachel Reeves out on Wednesday in a big speech, setting out how she wants to get the economy going. We're expecting news on 3 airports expansions, Luton, Gatwick and Heathrow, even reports in local papers near I'm from, up in Bedfordshire area, Hertfordshire area, of a new Universal Studios to rival Disneyland Paris up in Bedford. So all sorts of big planning, big spending announcements. They're trying to change the mood music. The problem is the actual facts of what's going on are not great. Sainsbury's cutting 3,000 jobs, concerns about the impact of national insurance increase for employers, and she's meeting regulators trying to lift regulation, get the economy booming.
Well, they might need a superhero on that movie set. I don't think they've got one in the government at the moment, and there's a poll out over the weekend, so now only 42% of the public have faith in Rachel Reeves and the Labour Party, plummeting confidence. And as you say there, the Confederation of British Industry saying there's little optimism. They were hoping for an uptick in the new year. There's a disastrous Christmas period. That hasn't come. And let's talk now about my favourite topic, Brexit. Because yes, at the same time as the boom time that's going on in America, Donald Trump expected to drill, baby drill, slash corporation tax, all kinds of executive orders, huge optimism. This side of the pond, it's doom time. And worse, cozying up to Brussels. 5 years on this Friday is the Brexit plus 5 when we left the European Union. Everybody is saying, what about looking towards Donald Trump? Except the Labour Party. They want to jump back into bed with Brussels.
This is the choice this government faces. Where do they go? Towards the US and trying to be more outward looking towards the US, or towards the EU? And I think the government right now is choosing to get better bilateral ties with leaders in the European Union. That's right. This Friday, the government has no plans to mark the 5th anniversary of Brexit.
What?
Well, they aren't. You might be. I know you'll be having the champagne, won't you, as a former Brexit Party MEP, Martin?
Well, what I would say is it's an historic and significant moment. Yeah. 5 years on,
but not one.
It's worthy of noting. The government aren't even acknowledging existence.
But not one to be celebrated by this government. The PM is due to go early next week to Brussels and speak to the leaders of the EU 27 countries. The first time a UK PM has addressed all 27 EU leaders. But as things stand, nothing to celebrate on Friday. The government has talked to the PM spokesman has talked to our colleague Adam Cherry in the past half an hour. They say they're looking forwards, not backwards, for making Brexit work. They're taking advantage, the government says, of our position to drive economic growth.
By going to Brussels.
And work with the EU on security, as already announced. But by going to Brussels and trying to talk to them more closely. No outright denial of being part of this Europe as a continent supply chain idea mooted by Maros Sefcovic just last week in Davos. So mood music is getting closer to the European Union. The worry is going to be, though, by doing that, do we tie ourselves to the regulation of the EU, which means we're less able to do a good deal or a good trade deal with the rest of the world, and particularly US.
Well, Germany's barreling towards a recession. France is going down la toilette. Why on earth would they choose to get closer to the European Union? When Donald Trump's been on the blower overnight, there's a deal to be done there. Do a deal with America. that's where the future lies. Surely just look at the metrics.
They did discuss in that chat yesterday, 45-minute chat with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, with Donald Trump. The issue of trading was discussed, I think, of better trade. The issue of tariffs on the European Union and UK was not discussed. In fact, what was interesting was how little was discussed, and we would argue, of issues of our most important to the UK. Chagos Islands, not discussed. Greenland, whether the US tries to buy it or even invade it, not discussed. The issue of defence spending, 5% of GDP, we're nowhere near that. We're 2% and could be delayed till 2032, according to reports, not discussed. So I think the issues we would think are important by the accounts of both the two groups in the room were not discussed.
And meanwhile, reports over the weekend that Rachel Reeves might even consider something approaching rejoining some form of single market. Astonishing. A parallel universe, Chris.
No, well, it might work. It might just work. They are our biggest. They're our biggest. Yes,
voted to leave. All that nonsense.
They're not touching sovereignty, Martin. So the issue of customs union, single market, freedom of movement, they are not discussed. I know with Brexit, the lid's full over your eyes and you can't talk about it. No. But they would say they're trying to make it work. Some would say it hasn't worked so far.
Well, I would say Brexit wasn't properly done. This is the conversation we're going to have all day Friday.
Very happy to.
I'm just starting to get on my haunches about it, because I'm telling you, this lot should be trying to make it work better by doing, I don't know, like what they did in Ireland.
That's what they're doing.
Have
they're talking to the European Union.
13.5% corporation tax, slash taxation rate, get Britain growing again, not going back towards blooming Brussels. This one's going to run and run. Chris O, thank you very much. You give me a nice shot of adrenaline there to get me back up into the room. Beautiful. Now we can speak with the economist, Dr. Andrew Lillico. Welcome to the show. Sorry, Andrew, I digressed there and foamed at the mouth slightly about Brussels. It goes with the turf. On a serious point, things aren't looking exactly tickety-boo for the Chancellor. We hear that there's a new movie studio being built in Britain, but it's looking very much like there'll be no Hollywood ending for this economy at the moment.
No, things are looking increasingly difficult. On your show before, I've said a number of times that we should have expected that the first 3 months of 2025 would be difficult for the economy, because in 2023, the Bank of England raised interest rates, you'll remember, quite fast, and they also engaged in quantitative tightening, so reversing QE, and the combination of those things led to a very sharp fall in the money supply in the year to September 2023. Now, you'd normally expect there to be an 18-month lag, so by March 2025, you'd expect that to be kicking in, and it's coming right on schedule. It's surprisingly precise this time. And to add to that, we have the problem that Jeremy Hunt had raised taxes very high to an unprecedented level that the UK economy has never generated since World War II, and also keeping taxes very high for many years in a row, which has just never been done before. Now, I think that the reality, and Rachel Reeves has doubled down on that by doing even more. Now, Reeves is going to be in a very difficult situation if the economy contracts as much as it looks like it's going to do, even goes into recession, because her fiscal plans are going to be shot absolutely to pieces. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, she'll have to raise taxes again. But the reality is that with taxes already so high, attempting to raise them even further would be likely to make the economy go even further down. So you get a further contraction in the economy, and the tax revenues go down, even though the tax rates go up, meaning that her spending plans go even more awry. And there's no... So we have all this stuff with Elon Musk. He's going to be going off to landing on the moon in 2026, and Trump says they're going to be setting off to Mars in 2028. Of course, the UK is quite strong in the space sector, so that might stimulate lots of things for us there. There's developments in AI, and we have some new announcements of that today, with some stuff from the Chinese showing that there's big reductions in the cost of producing some of the AI. That could boost the economy. There are other technologies coming through, cancer vaccines and green tech and who knows what. So these things, if you can get through enough into the future, there are a number of new technologies which might rescue her. But that would just be brute luck. That's a kind of economist's Hail Mary, if you like. That's the situation that she's in. She doesn't have any control over her destiny at all.
Andrew, I honestly admire your optimism. You're not only glass half full, but I'm wondering what you've been drinking. But on a serious point, meanwhile, the Institute of Fiscal Studies are warning that Labour may have to hike taxes. That's austerity. George Osborne, Mark II, the precise thing they promised they would never do. It seems we were promised the world by this government, and reality is starting to bite.
Absolutely. That's what people are saying, that taxes will have to go up. But I don't think that further rises in the tax rate will generate any extra tax revenue. So there's every chance that they will try this. They may feel like they've nothing else that they can do. But I think that it will be self-defeating, that the attempt to raise taxes further will make the economy go down further, and that will make the tax revenues go down further. So it will just fail as a policy. And if they do it too much, that could lead us to a crisis before these other kinds of things can rescue us a little bit further ahead. So I think the next few months are very, very dicey. It's very much a matter of clinging on by your fingernails. And who knows? There are those who are saying we could see the IMF in 6 months' time. So I think it's a very, very dicey situation that we face.
Okay, Dr. Andrew Ledico, thank you very, very much for joining us. Chris, quick word from you. It does feel like reality is biting. We were offered so much in terms of change, turning the page on 14 years of Tory chaos. It's getting worse.
There's a worry. I mean, Andrew Lindeco, he's got his data there. There's a concern that the mood has been so damp. I mean, the Tories say talking down the economy. It's hard not to agree with that, really. I mean, I think that, and combine that with the double whammy on businesses of increasing minimum wage and also increasing the tax that you pay if you employ people by 2% on national insurance. That's why there's a real worry at the moment about the economy. And, of course, soaring debt, sluggish growth. It's not great. The stagflation is stalking the economy, and that's why I think Rachel Reeves' intervention on Wednesday matters so much to all of us.
Maybe they get down Jeremy Corbyn's allotment and find a nice little magic money tree that's been nestling there since the last time. Chris Hope, always a pleasure, never a chore.